My name is up there, and I think that's the most interesting spelling and pronunciation that I've met. It's a Romanian name, and I cannot do anything about it. It's all over the place right now. I won't change it. I'll talk to you about growth hacking from, if you want, the perspective of someone who does it and wants to dispel a few myths, but also focus on practical knowledge that any company can apply and master. And today, I'm not in my Hostel World capacity here. I run marketing technology for Hostel World, but I am as executive chairman of Entrepreneurs Anonymous. So we will use as a case study the way we applied growth hacking to taking our Entrepreneurs Anonymous community over the past 18 months from 500 to about 8,000 members. And I am technology challenged now. There you go. So let's dispel the myth. If I define myself as a growth hacker, that doesn't mean that I'm somehow a replacement for marketeers. I'm smarter than marketeers. I'm probably at best slightly different. And Sean Ellis, who coined the term growth hacking circa 2009, maybe 2010, said he's a person whose true growth is north. So this is what we're going to look at today. Grassroots, not-for-profit support organization for entrepreneurs, going about 16.6% compound aggregate growth rate every month. In 2015, in January, we were present only in Dublin. About 16, 17 months later, we have 14 cities, we've run over 120 events, and we have grown from 500 to 8,000 members. How did we do this? We first of all identified what we do well, and we do events, not as big as this one. I'm totally humbled because I know how much work it takes to put together a summit like this one. We do events for entrepreneurs, and that's our growth rate in Dublin alone. Somewhere in January 2015, I joined the organization, and I hope it shows that it had a bit of impact. Growth hacking works on sometimes the same principles as startups. Minimum viable product, build something very simple, very rough around the edges, test it. I love Minecraft because I think kids playing Minecraft play with the minimum viable product every day. They build something that looks very bulky and imprecise, then they get feedback, they get it better and better and better for multiple iterations, and it ends up looking like a sail ship. Anyone here uses design thinking? Heard of design thinking? Very good. The hacking component means that you should be taking knowledge from anywhere, from anybody. So I didn't know about design thinking. Maybe I was intuitively replicating some of the ideas. But design thinking is actually a great opportunity for growth hackers. You have to understand, observe, identify your customer or client point of view, ideate, prototype, like we did with the sales ship in Minecraft, test with real people, and iterate. The basics of actual successful design thinking are also the basics of successful growth hacking. And of course, you need to have a recognizable figure. And until a couple of years ago, I was using pictures with kittens, but now I'm moving up the chain. So Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson, I think he's a growth hacker because he uses the same thinking. He encourages what works. So if I have 10 business units in my company, one is growing naturally and 9 are struggling, I will try to grow the one that grows naturally and give it a bit of oomph rather than try to fix the 9 that don't. People would call this common sense, but we now call it growth hacking. So let's go to the 5 growth hacking techniques or strategies that I think any business could master and use to literally see their growth accelerate. The first one is the low information diet. And what you see above is a plug from one of the events Entrepreneurs Anonymous is running using the low information diet method later this year in November. That's a screenshot from the website. It says what it is, and just like you see here, it has a very simple name. It is what it says on the tin. When I moved to Ireland, I had to reevaluate my interest in the usage of puns because Irish people are so funny, they have lots of puns, but for a non-native speaker, it's somehow hard to get the joke. So, first rule of the low information diet, don't put too much stress on the poor consumer. Give me the minimum he needs to understand what's in the can. The second rule or strategy is to reduce friction. I came probably around 10 in the morning today. I met about 50, 60 people. I had the opportunity to talk to them directly. They could immediately see my name. That's reduced friction. I didn't have to go through a very sophisticated process to register. I didn't have to drive to an unknown remote location. Reduce friction. It applies to absolutely any process that involves either B2C or B2C customers. Now, this is a tough one, increase stickiness. I'm using, again, our website as an example. You can come to the website. You can get the minimum information to qualify the problem. And you might bounce. Anyone who does online optimization knows that people who come look for 3 seconds, they don't get it, they leave your website. They're called bounced visits, and they are a disaster because you might have paid or worked very hard to get that traffic. If I manage to point out there, when you're on the website for a couple of seconds, we pop up a teaser. Now, people would say that when you are starting to send multiple messages on the same page, you're breaking rule number 1 of the low information diet. But that rule has been satisfied because we already gave you the basics. You are kind enough to spend a few seconds. Maybe you're ready for another bit of information. Tickets 75% off, once in a lifetime opportunity. And now I'll move to number 4, where we say leverage word of mouth. What am I doing now? Word of mouth is not that you have a Twitter or a Facebook share button on your website. Everybody does. It's making it memorable, making it relevant, making it mentionable, so that we can actually talk with our friends and contacts and network about it. It's not just the online that matters, it's the offline that actually underpins the whole value of the word of mouth. I was about to say marketing, but you can also call it propaganda. And last, offer positive incentives. I like this one, that you enjoy lots of things better with your friends, but positive incentives might be discover something new. Free entry, free drinks, win points, enter a draw, win an iPad, come for free at our next event. How do you react when your insurance company says, if you don't renew your policy by said and said date, you are no longer covered? If you don't do this, you lose, negative. If you renew your insurance policy by such and such date, you get 5% off. Which do you think is more likely to convert? Again, common sense is not that popular. So let's recap a bit. Low information diet. Any company that floods you with information explaining their product, they're not positioning right. Growth hacking says you should try to start with minimum. See how it works, see what they ask you for, add that in your next iteration. Reduce friction. The typical sign-up problem on online websites, if you have to enter too much information in the form, you're less likely to complete and hit submit. Ask for as little as possible. Just make do and iterate and find out more as they agree to stick with your brand or proposition. Increase stickiness. A very interesting one recently was an email from a financial company offering me to get notification on my mobile phone to see how much I saved today by using them. That literally worked to increase their stickiness and put their brand on my eyes every time I made a transaction with that particular credit card. I found that quite an interesting, innovative technique. Leverage word of mouth. How many people are you going to talk to today here, and how many people are you going to tell about this event tonight? And of course, offer positive incentives. So I offered you earlier 75% off if you come to our event for only €25 in November 18th to the 20th. It's a positive incentive. I'm not threatening you with losing something if you don't do it. So with that said, most important thing is to make sure that you connect, because that's how you learn about growth hacking. That's how you get to meet interesting people. That's how you expand your network, tap into the network effect, and of course, you get to rely on word of mouth and leverage myself if I can be in any way of help. Depending on how much time we have, if there are any questions, we can take them now.
Right, yeah. I guess I have one, which is, as we were talking about, some might say that growth hacking became a buzzword and then went the other way. Do you need to rename it, or is it just something you keep doing and it doesn't really matter what you call it?
I really don't care what it's called. It does the job. But it's so quaint when a recruiter reaches out to you based on your LinkedIn profile and says, I see you're a growth hacker. And I said, well, actually, I'm trained as an accountant, and you don't see that in my profile. So I think we get to choose what we define ourselves by.
OK. Anybody like to ask Silviu anything while we have him on stage? OK, thank you, yeah.
Building up a growth engine within, say, an SAS application. I know it's generic, I guess, but it's how do you bake in with the products? That's kind of
SAS, software as a service.
Software as a service, but it's the growth engine that you build, maybe you baked in with it. What do you mean, like hacking as?
So the question is, how do you build in a growth engine within an SAS offering? The first go-to is the freemium model. The other one is incentivize referrals. And I would say something that is very dear to me, make the sign-up process particularly easy. So integrate with social logins, other login platforms. There's no one answer fits all, but if you try one of these three, it will tell you which sticks and which, going back to the point, you should encourage and cycle and iterate around. So yeah, it's a very fair point. My biggest problem we had recently was a manufacturer from Belgium, a member in our group, who does standing desks. Anyone sat at a standing desk? No chair, your laptop is just up there. And they said, we have no unique value proposition. We compete with IKEA. We try to make our product very ecological and ethical, and nobody cares about it. And we come from Belgium, so we have funny accents. It's not as funny as mine, but it is funny. And our solution for them was to say, give a crazy warranty period and give a guarantee on satisfaction and say, look, if you don't like our desk, we'll give you twice the value if you sit down for 1 hour with us and you tell us why you didn't like it. And it seems to be getting enough traction, so next probably they will come with a better idea and a better idea and a better idea. They actually ran a successful Kickstarter recently and raised about $75,000. Okay. Am I out of time?
I think that was great, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much all.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.